Would you rather have a job that you love or one that pays really well? If we were in the class, I would say, no show of hands, but popcorn around the room. Let me know what you think about that. Or maybe there's a third option. Is there something in between those two questions? A job that you love and one that pays really well? Let's start a conversation on there. I contend, unless you're independently wealthy, we all need some kind of employment to get an income so we can enjoy life. And today, I want to show you how you can set yourself up to get that job or career or the grad school that you want. The best way for landing a job and making a little bit of money and getting into the grad school, the best way you can do that is if you're able to stand out from the crowd. But how do you do that? How do you make yourself stand out from the crowd? Well, I think you need to tell a story, particularly articulate your why, which brings me to my question. Let me share my screen here. What do you want to do? Kind of a big question. You've probably been asked that all your life. Do you want to direct your own career or life path, or do you want to just stumble around and hope you get lucky in your career as you're moving forward? Would you rather work on your own car or maybe pay someone else to do it? That's my brother and I. No jokes about the hair, because it's been 40 years ago. I have one objective today: to help you figure out, or to help you do what you want to do. Now, if you don't know what you want to do with your career, with your degrees, whatever that may be, hang in there. I still think this will help, and you'll see why in a little bit. What I don't recommend is stumbling around and hoping you get lucky. If you look in my employment over the last 4 years, until I found Ohio State, I was doing everything, and I did get lucky. I'll just be honest with you. It wasn't my brilliance. I just had some really lucky opportunities came along. I think you don't need to rely on luck, though. I think you can create that by doing a few things, particularly by creating a personal mission, and as educators, future educators, writing your teaching philosophy to help you stand out in that crowd. So I'm going to teach you today how to construct both and help you do what you want to do. So this is a guest lecture. Obviously, I'm recording it for a broader audience. But this is 7889, my good friend, Dr. Emily Buck. So let's jump in. Your definition, formal definition. What's a personal mission? Well, I have no idea. Actually, I do, but I don't care about formal definitions. In general, it's something that defines who you are as a person, or your why. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. It may clarify your values, what you believe in. What are those things that are most important? And not morbidly, but maybe, how do we want to be remembered after we're gone? Or even now, as what kind of a person? As a tool, it can direct your thoughts and decisions. Because I think Covey in the 70s talked about this. If you have a larger yes in the foreground, you can say no to those other items, increasing your capacity, because you're not doing some of the things that you shouldn't be doing. Your personal mission can help you make those choices. Now, here's something to think about. All your life, people have asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? What? Well, what often changes. There's studies on how many people are using their undergrad degree in the current job that they have. The personal mission is more about who you are as a person, and it defines your why, that purpose, why you get out of bed every morning. If you haven't seen Simon Sinek, that's a homework assignment. Google this up, 17 minutes, 56 million people, 60 million people have watched this. It's really core in thinking about, he's talking about companies, but it relates absolutely personally. He talks about MLK and the Wright brothers and others, how their internal purpose is what drove them. It wasn't what they did, it's why they did it. Watch that. So where do you start? I got the handout if you were here in the class with us. It's pretty simple stuff. Jot down just a couple of ideas on a scrap piece of paper, What are your core beliefs and values? What really matters? What's most important in life? And then think about the hopes and dreams. And stratify these: your personal hopes and dreams and desires, school, career, community, what you want to do in where you live, with friends and family. Spiritual can be really important to some people. So again, jot a few things down under those. And then the big question, number 3 here, leaving a legacy: how do you want to be remembered? Sounds a bit morbid, but it's not. Again, because if we think about our mortality after we're gone, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu talk about this in the Book of Joy. They say it actually invigorates us and then enlivens us to do more things that are important. And then go back through, look at what you've written down, and just jot down a few words, start putting it together. And that's your personal mission. So if we were in class, I'll just have you do this on video, wherever you are. Think about this. How would you like to be remembered? This was more about who you are as a person, or was this, sorry about my typo, more about who you are as a person or what you did during your life? Most of you are probably thinking, it was in your head, you probably thought more about who you were as a person, not what you did. So the personal mission, a couple of examples: to give my students resources and attention, to educate young minds, to make society a better place. I can't remember all that stuff. I'm a simple guy. My personal mission is to encourage others. 3 words, 1 word, encourage, that's it. But does that work? Is it say much of anything? Is it too simple? Let me suggest something. This encourage others screams EQ, emotional intelligence, how we recognize our own emotions, and then how we use that information to guide our thinking, our behavior, how we recognize other emotions as well. Everyone needs encouragement. There's a joke I heard a pastor say: how do you know if somebody needs encouragement? Check and see if they have a pulse. Everybody needs encouragement. And that can apply in so many areas. So EQ, let me just real quick sidetrack here, because this is germane to the conversation. Goldman, 1995, actually we're a little before that, but anyway. Again, how we guide thinking and behavior, self-awareness, knowing your strengths, your preferences, your resources. That's your why, the Simon Sinek, your purpose. Start with why, personal mission. Self-regulation, how do you control those things? What drives you? What's your motivation? What is motivating other people? Then the empathy, being aware and really putting yourselves in others' shoes. And then the social skills, how do you kind of manage all of that? Again, this is, now don't roll your eyes. I know the people are like, the ice, bro, heaven. But we do. I need to remember this. We only see a little bit on the surface of people when we're talking with them, interacting. Beneath are all of these deeper things that are driving who we are as a person versus just the behavior that we see on the top, what we do. See where we're going? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Distinction there. So why am I spending this time talking about personal mission and your EQ and motivation? These form the basis of your teaching philosophy that many of you will need, some kind of a statement. If you're applying for grad school, perhaps a job. And this can be, you can, if you're not a teacher, you can still modify the idea to your discipline, whatever that may be. So what's a teaching philosophy? Again, if we were in class, I would have to think about it and share. In short, this is from the OSU Drake Institute for Teaching and Learning. I'm a faculty affiliate there, great group of people. They've got some great resources. You can pull this up and get the full website and more detail in there. But in short, it's that personal vision for teaching and learning. It describes your strategies, your approaches, justifies those strategies for evidence-based practice. It's very reflective and personal. It's supposed to communicate your goals, how you evaluate, things like that. Generally, a couple of pages, double-spaced, present tense, write it in the first person, kick the technical terms, and then start giving the details of how you teach. What are your strategies? What are your methods? The key is, how do you make it memorable so that you stand out? We were just interviewing faculty here last week, and you read a lot of documents, a lot of people who are applying, and some of those documents are 50, 60 pages. So that teaching statement needs to stand out and stick in the minds of the people you're trying to impress, or to get the job, or to get into that grad school. And so you've got to think about, how do you make it your own, and then own your philosophy. Again, your individual experiences and beliefs, what you have done in practice. From Cornell, very similar, parallels OSU. Again, you can just Google teaching philosophy and Cornell, and it will pop up your conception, teaching and learning, description, and then justification. And it's got a few other things. I'm not going to spend the time. You can look at these, go back and look at the slides. But values, beliefs, goals sound familiar. And then what criteria do you judge your teaching, including the teaching methods, assessment of teaching and assessment of learning. How do you provide evidence of your teaching effectiveness? So you can mention peer review, student comments, how you take those and then mold your approach so that you can make it better. You may take classes like here at Ohio State at the Drake Institute. I've taken a number of their seminars and course redesigns so that I can learn how to improve my teaching. Even though I've been here for a while, I still want to do that. And then just jump in and get started. The purpose is my teaching goals include, it's not that complicated. However, one of those websites, won't say which one, gives an example of a teaching philosophy. And it's, I'm just gonna say ridiculously long. I'm not gonna read that. I'm just gonna tell you, let's get to the point. Thank you, Tom Petty. What would I rather see? I would rather see the basics, that conception of your teaching and learning, the description of how, and then that justification. But if you want to get my attention, as I'm reading grad school applicants for a PhD program here or a master's program, I want to see that you have a student centricity, that you understand andragogy versus pedagogy. Pedagogy, one-way dissemination of information for the most part. Andragogy, Knowles, 1980 maybe, in thinking about adult learners and how they differentiate context and the need to understand or learn things. College students are adults. How about your inclusive teaching, equitable, recognizing how you're approaching your subject, transfer of learning, dualism, moving your students to multiplicity, to relative, mindfulness, there's just a lot. And then I want to know also that you're educator-centric. Do you have some intellectual humility? Do you share vulnerability with your students? What's your epistemology? Do you believe in a co-construction of knowledge? Those things can catch my attention, and I see who you really are, or whoever's reading your job application or your grad school application. It's more personal. So here's a question. Are you willing to strip away some amount of content when you're teaching? Would you actually say this in your letter so that you can focus on metacognition for your students? Is that risky? I don't know. If we get my attention, I'd say, wait a minute, this person knows about teaching. So are you willing to dive deep into inclusive teaching? What do I mean by that? I would have you, if we were in class, pair up and discuss inclusive teaching, but online here, I'll just throw it at you. You're considering the diverse needs and backgrounds of all students to create that learning environment where they feel valued and have equal access to learn. There's a lot to unpack with inclusive teaching. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea that if I see that in a teaching philosophy, wow, that's attention getting. Here's I just wrote this last week. Though I saw evidence of your interest and actions in DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, in your CV, I didn't see it explicitly in your narratives. I really want to see it in writing. This was an applicant who had asked for some feedback that applied for a job here at Ohio State. And good stuff, cool person, but they didn't explicitly talk about DEI. And I wanted to see that because that means a lot to me. So what were we supposed to do today? The objective was to help you do what you want to do in life by helping you understand the personal mission, the teaching philosophy, and then how to construct those. We're kind of throwing that at you very quickly. But what about helping you stand out in the crowd? This is where we started. What do you want to do? I wish you were here in class. I would ask you to pair up and then tell the person next to you, what do you want to do? Discuss that just briefly. This is the what in life. And then I would ask, so how was this discussion as opposed to when I ask you, how do you want to be remembered? i.e. who do you want to be? Metacognitive bridge here, all right? How do you want to be remembered? Who do you want to be versus what do you want to do? My objective is to get you thinking about your thinking. This pair of questions hopefully prompt you to think about how you think about the differences. A differentiation maybe you've never made. It's so just ad nauseum in the conversation growing up. What do you want to be? What do you want to be? And so that distinction of who you want to be, how do you want to be remembered, may have lifelong implications. So we started with what do you want to be? I contend that your answer to this question, that you answer this question by telling your prospective employer, that grad school, et cetera, who you are and the personal mission, the teaching philosophy can help you do that. And by the way, I think you might find a job that you love and one that pays pretty well. Tim Kite, I love this guy, says that job skill, I know the iceberg, yeah, but look at this one. Job skills, what you do, what, versus life skills. What do you see there? EQ stuff, who you are. This drives your personal mission, your teaching philosophy, those things that matter deeply. When you start to look at it in these ways, then you start to say, oh, wait a minute. I see where this is going. Homework, can't leave you without homework. Watch the 17-minute Simon Sinek Start With Why video. Just Google Start With Why. It's there. Learn what drives you and what motivates you. Then jot down a personal mission. Take a few minutes or write it and then take a few weeks to think it over and refine it a little bit. And then think how that fits into your teaching philosophy and start drafting that. One more bit of homework. Google up Crystal Williams potential or Crystal Williams stories from the stage. You'll find this really easily. This is kind of a listening assignment. Your teaching philosophy should tell a story. So take a minute, listen to Crystal's story. It's about a 15-minute video as well. Note the deliberate actions that were taken by people in her life. So we're teachers. We have the opportunity to change student lives. So tell that story. It can be really powerful. So that's it. Hope that was helpful. And live from the classroom here at ASO. We'll talk to you next time.